Yeah, I mean, he's sitting down there on the fucking thing, drinking.
All right, guys, we are live. Here we go. And welcome to another High Five. I am Nate Manahan. I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana. Today we're going to be talking about what are our favorite rom-coms. I have no idea what we're going to do with that. We're going to talk about some hair bands. We're going to talk about Lebron versus Michael. How do we understand who the GOAT of all time is when it comes to sports? And then, of course, we're going to talk about some business things. Oh, my word, the Triple P went out of money. What the going to do, and we're going to talk about what in the world is a gateway. We are here with the High Five.
The time has come, the questions are set, opinions hide, discussions are led. A show about nothing and everything, it's all the same. We've got sports, entertainment, sales, and marketing. It's time for the high five. We've got it all covered. It's time for the high five. We've got it all covered. Yeah. The high five.
That's right, everybody. It is time for the High Five. I'll be toning in. We got a little new setup here, working on everything. But I am Nate Manahan, and I am pleased to have a wonderful, esteemed panel all around here. And we're going to be working. For some reason, I'm getting some reverb, so I'll figure that out when I get these guys talking. Oh, I think I see it. There we go. All right, had some effects on. There we go. That should be clear. So, in our esteemed panel, in the lower bottom, from Glenwood Springs, Colorado, bringing him up live from the heartland of the middle of the Rockies, where the elk roam free, the bears scare you, and the mountain lions are ready to attack your small little pets. It's Mr. Danny Shard. How are you, Danny?
Good morning. Happy Friday. High Five Nation. We actually had about 30 elk on my yard this morning as I was leaving at about 7 a.m. So, home of the elk. It's what it is.
It is. All right, in the upper. Brian's trying to jump in early, getting in
No, no, what
early.
I'm saying is okay. That was a heck of an introduction.
Oh, you just wait. We got more things planned. Now in the upper right-hand corner from the exercise room down where his sons do more exercise than he does, but he's been exercising his right to speak for about 100 years. Mr. Brian Linky, how are you, Brian?
Well, Nate, thanks for asking. It was snowing again here in Warsaw, Indiana, and getting ready to open my pool. So I got that going for me.
All right, so the pool did not open yesterday, apparently.
No, the pool did not open yesterday, and I've already paid the guy to open the pool. So I don't care if it's snowing or not. He's getting here to open the pool.
All right, it is raining like crazy here, but then I have, for the first time, I think our, what is this, our 20th, 19th episode. 19th episode. We skipped one because I had total no internet. Because we fight the home Comcast gremlins who try to keep us off, but we will not let the man keep us down. And that means we have our first second guest in the upper left-hand corner on the boxes. It is from
Cleveland rocks, living in sin.
but no, he's not living in Cleveland now because he had to bring himself out. It is from Chicago, the heart and president of Cash Buoy, the co-founder of Cash Buoy, Mr. Sean Feehan. How are you, Sean?
Hey, thanks, Nate. Happy to be here.
All right. So while we get started, our first topic for the day is our hairband challenge. That's right, hairband challenge, where we're going to talk about 3 hairbands, generally from the 80s, but these all 3 have been going for a long time. Basically, one, I want to know, are you guys a fan of hairbands? And I want to challenge, we're going to have this a couple times over the next couple of weeks, put some different hair bands in here, but today I chose Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, and Van Halen. I'm interested, gentlemen, are you a fan of any of these, and who is the greatest of these 3? Let's go, Danny Shard. I have no idea. Are you a hairband man?
Not really, surprisingly, and I've got the haircut to prove it. I will say though, I'm gonna go with Van Halen. Because when I was growing up, and I'm hoping this is right if I remember correctly, because I haven't looked it up in a long time. but when I was growing up, I was like maybe 15 years old and went up to Oregon with my mom and stepdad and went to a Sammy Hagar concert. And wasn't he on Van Halen, or am I off?
He took the place of David Lee Roth. Yes.
Right. Okay. So that's my experience with the hairband groups, but it was a great show. Those guys are crazy. On a little side note, I just watched a movie the other day about Motley Crue. Those guys were insane. So you want to talk about ultimate hairband? I think it's Motley Crue. I know they're not on the list, but I had to drop that out there.
All right, I have, of the guys out there, who might be a fan of any of the hair bands? Brian, Sean, are either of your hair bands fans?
My ultimate favorite group is Guns N' Roses. I don't think they quite make the hair band. They're close, right? But
little Axl Rose, from the
close. Yeah.
In the late '80s, I was big in the late '80s into Poison, Warrant, Whitesnake, and I was probably 8 or 9 years old. Yeah. In 1991, I was 11, and I saw Skid Row open for Guns N' Roses. My dad was in the radio business, so he sent awesome. Me and my best friend. He had our babysitter take us, and it was an amazing experience. And Bon Jovi was my first cassette tape.
I like thinking back to the capability to drive with the electric guitar, to have that hair flowing. I think back in the day when Bon Jovi was this, like Bon Jovi is cool now, but he's almost like a pop artist. But when the late '80s, early '90s, when those Bon Jovi and Van Halen, their concerts. Having an opportunity to go to a couple, I didn't ever buy any of the albums back when we bought albums. I was not a fandom, but I did go to a couple of the concerts, and they were just experiences and the best people watching I have ever done going to those. And I think that's probably still true. I haven't gone to any of these like revival tours that they do. But Brian Linke, back in the day, you had to be showing up, hanging out in some of these concerts.
Well, okay, so here's my answer. I've seen all three of the bands in concert personally back in the day. Bon Jovi and Def Leppard cassettes. They were right after what I'm about to say. Van Halen, I would say, would be my number one pick just because I had the 8-track. And the fact that I had the 8-track puts them at the head of the line. Although Def Leppard with a little Pour Some Sugar on Me, when Florida State went to the Sugar Bowl, won a national championship, I only played that song, I don't know, 10,000 times a day. So I'm going to go with Van Halen first, Def Leppard second.
It all comes back to Florida State, and got to throw something out there about that. And then, of course, showing his age with the 8-track. That's impressive.
Well, and the 8-track was David Lee Roth, I believe. I think Sammy Hagar was a cassette, but I distinctly remember the Van Halen 8-track in my car sticking out, so like you could see who's playing.
So one of the keys of like these bands, as you're talking about, Sammy Hagar and David Lee Roth, is that a lot of them can switch their lead singer and they're still going on and they just keep going. Like not so much a hair band, but like Journey we saw at our Transcend show back in early October in Boca Raton, always going back to Florida. And they've had like multiple renditions, different lead singers. I find it I like the originals. Sometimes they get a little better the second time, but hair bands are the bands that these things, it doesn't matter. It's like it's a sound and not so much the personality, though they all have personality. Do you find it annoying that they just keep switching like the lead singer and they'll just flip and flop all the time?
I enjoyed that concert.
Yeah.
So I'm a bad guy. I'm a bad guy to ask. Although I will tell you this, Journey was the very first concert, Sunrise Musical Theater in Fort Lauderdale, that I ever saw. And Thin Lizzy opened up for them. Boys Are Back in Town back in, I don't know, what was it? A long time ago, and there was a lot of.
Say the year.
Yeah, say the year.
I'm gonna go with 79. I'm going to go with 79. It's close. 79, 80, 81. The whole thing was a blur to me at the time anyway. So we'll just call it what it is.
That absolutely is. Brian, I can count that you're always going to have incredible stories and experiences unlike the rest of us. We all do and travel and do all kinds of things, but you are like the fact that I picked 3 bands and I probably could have picked like 15 and you would have been to all 15. That is like, this is why you're here.
Here's what I'm going to say about that. Okay, back in the day, to go see Boston and Kansas and those bands, which I've seen multiple times, it was like $10 to get into the Hollywood Sportatorium to see concert. I was at a concert literally almost for a while there, like every weekend for years and years and years. Now it's a whole thing, right? I mean, I actually looked to go see ZZ Top last year up here in, I don't know, wherever it was, Wabash. And for floor seats, they wanted like $280. Okay, $280 a seat to see ZZ Top. Sorry, I saw ZZ Top back in the day for $10. So the difference is you can't just pick up and go to a concert today. I mean, you can, okay, but it's not like it used to be. So the way it used to be, you could go every single weekend if you wanted to.
That is absolutely true, and now concerts are so blasted expensive that
right.
I mean it's just getting in the door is a couple $100, and then if you want to have anything to eat, because it's at least for me, a lot of they're in these huge amphitheaters. It becomes a 7-hour excursion for a 2.5 to 3 hour concert, and it takes up all your day and hundreds of dollars. And they're fun. I still enjoy them, but I don't go to very many now. I am also in a different stage of life. It's like I'm not going to take my 6-year-old to a Van Halen concert quite yet, or 7. I would just offended my son.
Go see Rush. Go see Rush. That was the best one of all time. You want a people watch? Go see Rush.
All right, well, we'll do that. Now we're going to go to topic number 2. We're going to get in some sports. We got business topics coming up. We got an entertainment topic coming up. But to now, the comment. And notice the jersey that I put in there. It is the Cleveland Cavaliers, LeBron James versus Michael Jordan. It's actually part of it when they were in the league for the few moments together. We've got LeBron James, Michael Jordan. The question is, 1, how do we define the greatest of all time when it comes to different generations of basketball? Who's greater, LeBron or Michael? Because on this Sunday, we have a incredible sports, finally something that's original. I am appointment viewing on ESPN. Actually, I've already got set to record. I don't know if I'll watch it live, to make sure that I am watching as they have the 10-part documentary, the first 2 parts are this Sunday night on ESPN, about the last year, the last dance of Michael Jordan. Who's the greatest? Brian Linke, you got to have something to say about this.
Again, this is a question that I think for the rest of our lives will be asked. It probably needs to take place in an establishment that serves adult beverages, because it's just more fun that way. Michael Jordan, I think forever will be known as the greatest basketball player of all time. And if you want to base it on championships, obviously he wins that way. Although, I'm not sure you base everything on winning. Now, defensive player of the year, I think that is something that is more in his favor. I mean, but LeBron James, again, today, he's playing against better players. He's scrutinized more than anybody else, just because you're able to see every single, when Jordan played, not everybody saw him play every single game. Now you can watch an NBA game, you can watch LeBron James play every single night if you want to. So I think he's scrutinized a little bit more. Again, an old school guy. If I had to pick one, I'd pick Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan is our first choice. David Leggett, who's watching live, says MJ is the greatest ever. For sure. I mean, he's the greatest memories for me, because he and Reggie Miller, who got me become super fans when it came to NBA. I had a little bit of lull. I'm kind of back though right now. I have nothing to cheer for. Let's go, Sean Feehan. Sean, you are in MJ's backyard. My guess is you're in walking distance of the statue at the United Center. I actually don't know where you are, but you could get there a lot faster than I can. what do you say as a Cleveland person who grew up probably thinking LeBron James is the greatest thing since sliced bread? What do you say, MJ versus LeBron?
Yeah. First of all, David Leggett just called me, and I texted him back and said, I'm doing this webinar. I'll call you right back after. And so that's why he's watching. And after that answered, I'm not going to call David Leggett back until tomorrow, probably. So I grew up a huge Michael Jordan fan, I'm 40 years old. So I'm right in that. I mean, I grew up, everybody wanted to be like Mike. And he, at that time, was by far the best player in the world. I don't think you can, like Linky said, I don't think you can quantify it and determine who's better. They're different times, different eras. They filled a different role in their team. They're obviously two of the best players to ever play. Living in Chicago for most of my adult life, being a Cavs fan has not been easy. This question comes up all the time. And and there have been a lot of arguments at establishments that serve adult beverages. I really don't know who's better. I love them both, and I appreciate what LeBron did for my hometown team. And I appreciate watching Jordan play. I will say something, and I knew these stats. I didn't have time to look up everything, but if everyone wants to check these facts, when Jordan left the Bulls for the first time after 3 championships, when he left the Bulls for the first time, the Bulls record that season without him was 55-27. They made a run for a championship without Michael Jordan on that team. That was the 93-94 season. They almost went to the finals that year. When LeBron left the Cavs for the first time, that next year the Cavs were 19-63. So LeBron did not play with Pippen and the Worm and all these great these all-stars. The first go around with the Cavs, LeBron wasn't with. Name a player he was with. Nobody. I don't think anyone will know another player. And Shaq doesn't count. He was rode the bench for most of the game that last season. So I don't think LeBron had the same talent hit the first part of his career. He obviously did later on.
Oh, I think that's a good point. And certainly LeBron, we think back to the iconic moments of LeBron's career, and it was the decision, it was the going to Miami, and then his return. I'm back to Cleveland, and he brings and provides the championship to Cleveland that you Clevelanders desperately needed, because the fact is Cleveland does not rock. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I had to.
Listen, I left Cleveland too, so I don't blame LeBron. But he came back and he did win a championship. And could you imagine if they didn't win that year and they lost the way they lost in the World Series a few months later? I mean, Cleveland would just be, just shut down.
No, absolutely. And I think one of the things is, I mean, it's an interesting world that trying to choose who's the greatest. You can't choose an eras, but it's fun to just talk about. Is certainly an adult beverage. And the fact is, LeBron has about maybe 4 to 6 more seasons somewhere in there, maybe more. Maybe he's going to TB12 it. And but he can certainly make an impact here at the end, because how you finish, Michael, there was the luster off of Michael a little bit because of his little Wizards debacle and coming back as his last 2 seasons in the Wizards and trying to be a general manager and never fully succeeding. Danny, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, these guys have pretty much covered it. It's Michael's going to be my all-time favorite without a doubt. I agree with Sean though. I mean, look at those numbers. I mean, he had to go to his book to pull out some stats, just like any LeBron guy would. But that's actually it's a really good point though, right? I mean, Michael had all-stars around him. Michael had such an amazing crew. By the way, shout out Houston Rockets 93-94 champs. That was a good year. 2 years in a row actually. But I think totally different times. As I'm watching some of these like 30 for 30s and things like that, like, I mean, you remember how rough basketball was back in the 80s and 90s? I mean, like, you couldn't go into the paint without just hitting the floor, right? I mean, these guys assaulted each other. I mean, it was a totally different game. It was a lot more physical, I think, when Michael played too. So it's tough to compare since they're just so many or so long apart or so far apart. But I got to go MJ. He's my all-time favorite, and just not a Cleveland fan either. So I'll go against Sean on something like that any day.
Well, we are certainly going to figure out who is the greatest in the next couple. Yeah, well, no, we'll just keep debating. It's never going to be definitive, but it's a lot of fun to banter and talk. And I hope for those who want to watch the documentary starting the 10-episode series, the first 2 episodes, it's our advertisement because we've taken sponsorship from ESPN. I'll be moving to a different house because of that. No, I haven't gotten sponsorship, but I'm looking forward to watching it. And we're certainly going to have some fun. But now it's time for our third topic. And this one should be quick but interesting because we have 4 gentlemen, and yes, we need to get some women on this show. But we have 4 gentlemen. We're going to answer the question, what is my secret rom-com that I enjoy? I'm really interested in this one because I have no idea what any of the gentlemen are going to say. So I'm going to start where we stopped with our discussion on MJ and LeBron, Mr. Danny Shard, who has a wife, I'm going to assume, that's got a few rom-coms in her. I hear you mention a little that you get out of Grey's Anatomy occasionally. So what are you going to watch?
Yeah. She's a rom-com fanatic, I think, just like any woman is.
That's sexist.
It's embarrassing to say, to be honest with you, but I'm gonna be truthful and honest because that's what we do on the High Five. Is I'm a big Anne Hathaway fan, so mine is The Devil Wears Prada. I love that.
Oh yes,
that's
never lived that down.
I love some Anne Hathaway, and that movie's pretty good for me. So I'll take that.
That is awesome. Devil Wears Prada. Was not gonna think about that. That's Is that, it's not Meryl Streep? Who's
Meryl Streep?
Is it Meryl Streep? I mean, that's legit. I mean, yeah. I think I've seen it once, and I don't remember it real well. It was a book that was turned into a movie. That's definitely a rom-com. All right, we're going to let Sean go last here. So we're going to go to Brian Linky. Does he snuggle up with Brenda and watch a rom-com, or does he secretly sneak in the basement and watch one by himself? I'm intrigued, Mr. Brian. What do you got?
Okay, well, for one thing, I had to Google what is a rom-com. Okay, because I didn't even know what it was. So like I
knew it.
I didn't know what it was. Okay, I'm not a Devil Wears Prada guy like Danny Shard is. I wouldn't even know what that is. So if I'm gonna so like I had to think about it, and if I'm gonna pick one, it's got to be Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day is a rom-com. Okay, what definition did you look up for rom-com? Because that is, I would not have defined that as rom-com.
What are you talking about? The romantic comedy? Absolutely, it is.
It's not. Absolutely not.
Yes, it is. Okay. What? Harry Met Sally? Is that a rom-com?
Yes, that is a rom-com. That's like the definition of the introduction of rom-com. For sure, that's a rom-com. But Groundhog Day is Bill Murray. Next, you're going to say, "What about Bob, the great rom-com?" The point
No. Groundhog Day. He tried to seduce the girl over and over and over again. Then he had to become himself, and he finally. It's definitely a romantic comedy. No doubt about it.
All right. Well, I will say, one, it's definitely a great movie. It's one of the greatest of all time. Bill Murray is absolutely epic. And his commercial for the Super Bowl, where he redid that this year, and his only commercial of his career, was amazing. But I don't know if it's a rom-com, but I like that you like it. I don't know that we got any embarrassing secrets in there because everybody likes Groundhog Day.
Okay, here's the thing. Okay, I'm not Danny Shard. I'm not
really putting yourself out there.
I'm not going out with the Devil Wears Prada. I can tell you that. Did anybody get killed in that movie?
I'm confident.
Hey, he is a man. He knows what he is. All right, Sean Feehan, what says you about a rom-com?
This was difficult. I wasn't sure the movies that came to mind if they qualified as a rom-com, and they probably don't. Like Dumb and Dumber is not a rom-com. But it is about a relationship. He chases her all the way to Aspen.
There you go. Yep.
So I thought about some of my favorite movies, and I had to look this up. But The Wedding Singer counts as a rom-com.
Absolutely. Wedding Singer, anything with Drew Barrymore, 50 First Dates, Adam Sandler, those are definitely rom-coms.
Yes. So
wedding singer be a rom-com and Groundhog Day isn't.
Groundhog Day is not even close to it. It's not.
I can't tell you how embarrassed I am for a Devil Wears Prada after hearing those two answers.
All right. I'm gonna rebound in here. I'm gonna go with you, Danny. I'm gonna help you out here. The one I chose, the one that I've watched way too many times, and when I used to flip through channels and it was on, I would stay in it. And is You've Got Mail. I'm a huge Tom Hanks fan. I've seen every of his movies. Introduced my kids. I mentioned that on a recent show to Forrest Gump, and I'm always trying. I loved him. Saturday Night Live that he hosted last week, and he was the king of rom-coms, him and Meg Ryan. And so that You've Got Mail, I don't know what it is. It's maybe the big Goliath putting out the big the superstore, putting out the little bookstore. And it's the beginning. It's one of the first things talking about the internet. It's early 2000s. And I have seen that movie way too many times, and it's probably going to hurt me, but at least it's not Devil Wears Prada. That's all I can say. All right, gentlemen. Nice job. I appreciate it. Thanks, Danny, for becoming a little vulnerable.
A little more honesty from the panel, but
yeah, I know.
What are you talking about? I'm brutally honest.
All right, topic number 4. Here's what's happening out there in the real world. It's our news segment as we walk around the world. Whoa, the PPP, the triple P, the big opportunity by the government to come in and swoop in and help small and medium businesses has already run out of money. Yes, they're going to fund hopefully a little bit more if they can get their act together there in Washington, D.C. We'll see if that does. They have done it once. They probably will do it a second time, so there'll be another opportunity. But let's be honest, they are going to run out of money, and you're going to be saying, am I going to do? So the question is, what do we do? So we're going to bring our panel back up, and we're going to go first to Mr. Sean Fian, because he is the president and co-founder of Cash Buoy. And we've talked about it when he was here last week, and we'll talk about some ways you can learn more about Cash Buoy and some of the great ways that they're helping merchants. But the fact is, Sean, the money's up, and there are, I don't know what the number, millions of merchants that thought they were going to get the opportunity to go after a payroll protection program and get some money in 8 weeks or 2.5 months worth of payroll, and they can't. And now they're left holding the bag trying to figure out what they're going to do. And we're starting to hear rumblings about how we're going to open, and President Trump came out with the beginning plans and how the governors are going to work together. What do we do, Sean? What do we start? I mean, where else can we get capital when businesses desperately need it?
Yeah, first, I just kind of want to preface this statement with we're having fun on this webinar, and we're making having a light conversation, but this is really serious and it's sad. I mean, there are, like you said, millions of small businesses that we're relying on at least the PPP, the smaller amount of funding. And I said it last week that this whole thing, the government trying to push out the SBA trying to push out 15 years worth of money in a 2-week window, that it was an absolute mess. And here we are a week later, and the program is not, you can't even apply right now. And you've got a bipartisan issue in Washington trying to figure out to fight over allocating more money, which they will eventually, but one side wants concessions from the other, and they have to play that whole game until it's going to happen. So it's a sad time in America right now. These businesses are going to go out of business. Your mids are going to go out of business. You're going to lose mids that can't stay open. Cash Buoy is a direct lender. We are able to service debt. We're able to fund deals. It's not like we don't have an apparatus in place to provide funding. So we're set up and we're ready to go. These businesses need money now more than any time. We're not talking about max approval amounts, but they could use 5,000 to 20,000 so that they can help. That'll help them buy inventory, ramp up to open up when the country opens back up. So it's a sad time, but you have a partnership with a company that is ready to fund your merchants. You've got to take advantage of it. You're doing your merchant a favor. This is no longer about making big commissions and adding value to your mid. This is really about you helping out your customers. Let them know that the product is there. Have them apply. I'd like everybody to reach out to their relationship manager or go to the back office at mypayprotect.com. You're going to have our PDF app in there. You're going to have our link in there. Have your merchant complete the application, complete the bank verification. We are funding some merchants that are closed right now. A very few, though. They have to have really great credit and clean bank statements before COVID-19. What we are doing, though, is we're teeing up an approval amount to be able to wire to them once the country opens back up. And that 5 to 20,000 is going to help them, open back up, get some more revenue, and then come back to us for a renewal at a larger amount to help them again continue to move forward. So it's a great time to have a close relationship with a funding company, and you have it here with Cash Buoy through PayProtect. So reach out.
I think letting Mr. Bowie answer that question first was a mistake.
Oh, well, Brian, okay. Well, we got to let the guests have some opportunity. Sean, would you say that the opportunity here is, obviously they don't know if there's going to be funding, and you said this earlier, you should go after the opportunities that the government's going to give us. They're not grants, they are loans, but most likely you can get them forgivable. We're not going to speak into that for you. But at the best, they're a 1% loan. But would you suggest that they make sure they fill out your application and their application and be ready for both, and not knowing what's going to happen, and be ready to get things? Because as soon as the states start saying, hey, let's open doors, you can have 10 people in, 50, depending what the type of business, there's going to be a unique way this rolls out. It's not just going to, we all have this dream that we all suddenly, the curtain is lifted and we're all allowed to go back outside. That's not how it's going to roll. It's going to be the businesses are going to be gradually allowed to open up. There are going to be restrictions to begin with. We're going to make sure that we're safe. But Sean, would you encourage people to fill out both applications, be fully ready, and then they can choose which ones they do, or even do both?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because I don't want anyone watching this to think that I am telling people to not apply for the government, the PPP or the second or third option that they have. They absolutely should be attempting to do that. From what I understand right now, you can't even get into the portal to apply, but they 100%, every business should be going after this SBA money. We're not trying to compete or take that away or tell people to just go through us. We want merchants and consider them from an underwriting perspective a more favorable merchant if they're going after this government money, because it's smart. You should. Unfortunately, you might not get it in time that you need it to open back up, and that's where we come in. But again, we're not looking to take people away from applying for that. Go get it, or try to apply, or wait till you can apply again. But if you need money in the meantime, you can come to Cash Buoy, and Cash Buoy cannot compete with 1%, and we're not trying to. But during this extra risky time, we are not charging any more fees. We are not charging higher factor rates, all of which, again, from a lending perspective, probably should be happening. We are not doing that. So in fact, we have some programs where we're offering much lower rates than normal, just because we want to make it reasonable for the merchant. So all your merchants should be doing both. Go after the government money, and then if you need an approval where you're going to get funding when you open back up, you should be coming to us as well.
Danny, can you talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing in the merchant service space? There are lots of companies like Cash Buoy out there, but we're seeing constricting. They're going out of business. They're not funding anything. They're not being, I'm calling them out. They're not being extremely business friendly, and are definitely not being partner merchant services friendly. What are you seeing out there, and why is Cash Buoy such a good partner for us?
Yeah, and Sean and I were even talking about this before we came on, how the majority, and actually we're not sure of many that even are lending or looking at options for merchants right now, which is a huge statement, right? It's all about working with companies that are willing to take a look at things and offer options, and that's what Cash Buoy is doing, and that's one of the reasons why PayProtect and Cash Buoy work so well together. Is they understand that it's all about the merchants, and that's how we're all going to get through this, is working together. We're seeing a lot of these businesses that are not being forgiving, just stopping lending options, and really just leaving merchants kind of high and dry. And that's, although Sean and all of us are really good friends, he's going to be on the high five a lot. This is a good point of why we want to continue having him on here and educating. We've got a lot of partners that listen. We've got a lot of merchants that listen too. We want you to know what options you have out there and see if you can qualify for some additional lending if you need it. I talked to 4 partners yesterday that are working with merchants that did not get that first round of funding on the PPP. Whether they didn't have their act together and get it submitted in time, or maybe they were submitted, they were just sitting in queue and they were just so jammed up, they ran out of funding. I don't know how many businesses were sitting there waiting on funding and then just didn't get it because they were part of, 100,000 others that just didn't, that were just in queue waiting for that round of funding. So there's a lot of businesses out there that still need options and that really just can't afford to wait. And not saying that they're going to be able to qualify right now for cash buoy funding, right? Because maybe their doors are completely closed. But it's about getting them in front of cash buoy, getting them some options, seeing what they can qualify. Maybe they can qualify for a little bit right now. That's going to get them through to the next phase until they get that SBA funding. So it's just about providing merchants, and we want you all to have options, and that's what Sean and his team are prepared to do.
Well, and I think, Brian, as you're kind of our spirit animal and you keep us focused and excited, part of this is stop, don't be disappointed. Don't, jump, get going, get up, actually work. And for a merchant or the partner, get off the freaking couch, apply for all that you could possibly get on the government funding, be ready for cash buoy because things are going to open up, start creating, start working, start moving. What are you telling your merchants, Brian? Because I know you have some merchants that have just are focused on giving up almost and depressing. How are we saying, hey, let's get going, take the opportunity, seize the bull by the horns, and let's roll with this because it is what it is. We can't change. As I say, life is life. We can't change this. Brian, how do you motivate us, Mr. Motivator?
Again, that's a really good question, and it's not easy because there's a lot of my merchants here in Warsaw that are experiencing that, and just for my sake, selfishly, I need them to stay in business, and you're all you can do. And I'm going to say this about the government money. When I first saw that was on the table and that was coming out, it was the first thing that entered into my mind. And I hate to say this, is if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I didn't think they'd run out of money this quickly. But I'm not surprised that they did, just because it's think about just the whole thing is just mind-boggling to even think about. Yeah. With my merchants, again, like Danny just said, you just have to stay positive. Tell them, hey, you know what? Is there an end in sight? Absolutely. And I get asked that all the time. Not that, who's Brian Linke to answer that question? I don't know. If it was up to me, it would end today. But like Sean said, it's just, I think we're fortunate to have Cash Buoy as a partner, and as close to that paper there, because he's going to do everything he can, because he doesn't make any money if they decline, right? Nobody does. So he's going to do his best to get these merchants approved. Now, again, you have to make an educated, there's credit. There's a lot of different factors that go into it, but just know that Cash Buoy, and again, I've mentioned this to my merchants. Sean and I have talked about some of my local merchants that are going to need some money, and they're going to need it quickly. Right now, they don't qualify just because Sean's not loaning any money right now, or advancing any money right now, and I don't blame him. But yeah, I just think that we're fortunate to have Cash Buoy as a partner and as close to us. And I think him and Brian Batt, they're going to do whatever they can to get the funding for these merchants.
Absolutely. And Sean, we'll come well, actually, you know what, Sean, we're going to highlight you at the end. We'll do one more thing. Any last things to add before we jump to our last topic for the high five? Because the opportunities are there. They're not easy, but you just got to try. Last comments on going after capital before we move into our last topics on gateways.
Well, Nate, just one thing that I think, and I appreciate everything that Danny and Brian said, but we are actually funding merchants right now. We are. Now, of course, not like we were pre-COVID-19, but we have wires going out every day. Most of those are businesses that are open, and some of which business is booming. Some liquor stores, auto places. But we are able to make some exceptions for some businesses that are actually closed right now and get them a little bit of money. Now that's where it's more of a credit driven product for obvious reasons, but we are actively funding deals. Just be patient with us because it's not like business as usual, but I don't want anyone to think that we're not actually putting money out right now. We are.
All right.
I'm sorry if I thought I didn't really mean it that way.
I know. Yeah. We're not funding. We're not funding your deals right now.
Well, you got to take in that you do a credit score and a Brian Linke connection score, and that's what we have to worry about.
Yeah, it's a story of my life.
All right, number 5 today. What is a gateway and what should I care? A quick discussion today about the functions. Yesterday we talked about a piece of hardware that is part of the merchant services and payments world and a smart terminal. Today we're going to talk about a gateway, one of the most important pieces of software and really businesses that are out there. This is a $1 trillion industry now in the gateway space. And I think a lot of times we get confused what a payment gateway is. So let's try to do it in a couple sentences. Danny Shard, what is a payment gateway?
It's essentially a couple different things. It's an online virtual terminal, so a merchant can jump on their computer, take payments directly on their computer through a gateway, just like a website, basically. Most popular is actually websites, right? Websites use gateways. They connect them to their shopping carts on the back end to collect payments from customers that they drive to take payments online. So the few different ways that the gateway can be used, but it's essentially for e-commerce and over the phone or something like that. Gateways are becoming a lot more popular now, obviously, with minimal face-to-face transactions. And in fact, we've got great relationships with Authorize.net, USA ePay, NMI, which are just a few of the most popular. But some of those key features that merchants want in those more robust gateways, there's a lot of basic features of a gateway that a lot of merchants want to use, just like a virtual terminal, which is the ability to take a payment over the phone or just key it into your computer or even send an invoice. And we've got that built into Payments Hub, right? So any merchants out there right now of PayProtech or looking to become a part of PayProtech, it's an automatic feature that we give to every merchant. So they have their point of sale system, and then they've got a gateway built into their back end portal so they can take payments like that and send invoices and have a virtual terminal. So a lot of different options.
It is. And one of the things about payment gateways is there's 2 big competitors out there that are just direct to consumer products. There's more than 2, and all of them do some direct to consumer, but Stripe and Braintree. Stripe is still a privately held company, just raised another $600 million in the middle of a COVID crisis, which, wow, that's an impressive number, I'm just going to say. And then Braintree, which is owned by PayPal. But it's the ability, that's the little middleware software that connects any piece of hardware or other software to getting to their payment process. And it's really a security issue. It's the opportunity to protect yourself, protect your customers, protect for a lot of fraud. It doesn't do everything, but the best ones, the Authorize.nets, the NMIs, the USA ePays do that. The thing I want to talk about is when you go to Stripe or Braintree and you're a merchant that's trying to do $50,000, $100,000 a month, and you're a customer. And one of the things our partners are always having to sell against is Stripe and Braintree. And I will say they have pushed us to make it simple, because before Stripe and Braintree existed, the APIs that were running the payments world were way too difficult. And as if I have any clue what I mean when I say API, but Brian Linke can explain it to me later. But what I wonder is, guys, these guys, they charge like 3.9 and 30 cents. And we know in the world of costs that you can get better service, a better piece of software now for less price. So why should they use a company like PayProtech to connect to an Authorize.net, an NMI, a USA ePay, than going right with Stripe?
I wish it was a 3.9 and 30 cents. That'd be a lot better. It's 2.9 and 30 cents, but it's still very high, right? If it was 3.9, it'd be a slam dunk. But
and you know why I was saying that is I was noticing Toast Now, another one of our competitors yesterday. They rolled out a 3-month trial of one of their online products, but they're charging a flat rate of 3.9 and 30 on card not presents, which I was like, yeah. So that's where when they said it was free, that ain't free, boys. I'm just telling you. All right. Yes, you're right. 2.9. Thanks for correcting me, Danny. Go.
But yeah, I mean, it's a combination of things, right? I mean, you get the same features out of these gateways that you do those bigger players, and like you said too, they've really made us simplify the onboarding process and the ability to get these gateways up and running for these merchants, which our gateway providers really do. So almost just as easy as signing up with them with a much more competitive rate, a lot more options. We've even got gateways that allow merchants to do a form of the Edge program. So that's a possibility as well, which you cannot do on these other ones. And then it just comes down to having someone that you can rely on, right? You're not going to get that layer of support from those competitors like you would with a PayProTech. So there's several different selling points to have the same solution, better pricing, and better support.
All right, absolutely. Sean, you in your former payments world, gateways are now starting to get into your world, and well, I think for sure I know Braintree and PayPal do advances, and I'm not sure in the world. What are the advantages of something like you being connected to a company like PayProTech that works with Cash Buoy than being connected to Braintree that's connected to PayPal? And I don't know about the Stripe. They probably do advances too. I actually just don't know about their capital on that. I should have done a little research. But Sean, what's the advantage of using you and being connected to someone like PayProTech?
Well, like you said, I mean, PayPal's lending division is one of the largest in this space. So these e-commerce processors have had a big footprint in funding. Listen, if after COVID-19, if you're not well versed on e-commerce and gateways, like you may as well get out of the processing business, because the world's about to change as far as the way we handle card present transactions. I think you're going to see e-commerce methods used even potentially face to face, because people don't want to pass their card over. So I don't know. You guys on this panel have forgotten more about gateway knowledge than I've ever had, but I just know that the way things are going to change after this pandemic, that you should probably be pretty well versed in e-commerce and gateways. And as it relates to funding, we just care about revenue. So if it's coming in through e-commerce or one of these gateways, we're still going to adhere to our normal underwriting guidelines, and we're still going to be able to fund based off that volume.
I appreciate your saying that we know anything, Sean, but the person that knows the most and has forgotten the most is Brian Linke. But Brian, on that, when it comes to gateways, none of us are experts on gateways, but I know that you have sold customers that are using gateways, auth.net. How can you sell something you don't fully understand, and how do you get that knowledge just to be able to help the merchant? It's about relationship, isn't it?
Let me piggyback on what Sean just said. If you're not well versed in it, that's just the way it looks to me. Like we're going to be doing a majority of our, no, I shouldn't say majority of our more transactions through the gateway than ever before. The way I understand it is, okay, the money is here, the gateway, the money goes into the bank. And you need to use a trusted source. PayProTech has a wide variety, and again, using PayProTech, the support that you're going to get, because again, you're dealing with one company, the money's traveling, you're dealing with a bank. There's a lot of things that can happen there, and with the people that we have here, we can help you alleviate some of the pain.
Absolutely. Well, how many times can I say absolutely? Brian, we have the opportunity to help. So reach out to us. You can always reach out to any of us. The easiest way is just email partners@payprotect.com, and then they'll forward it to any of our emails. We're not going to list every email. We will talk with Sean here in a second about his contact information, and I'm going to want to show exactly how we can do it. As we close up, and I bring up a little music, just a little Friday pick me up to get us going here today. We want to make sure that you know that we are live every week. I'm hoping we're going to start splicing this out, putting it out. You're going to be just seeing a portion of this. We are live at 10 a.m., a little bit after. We usually get by 10:10, and we would absolutely love to have you as part of that. And then Please join us every day next week. We're going to be talking more Merchant Services 101. We're going to talk sports. We're going to talk entertainment, marketing, sales. We're going to talk about it all, everything and nothing all at the same time, because that is what we do here at the High Five. Last moments of inspiration. I do want to show you that if you are, let me bring up the over here, if you would go to mypayprotect.com right now and click on the roadshow, you will find that there are 3 tracks: the point of sale track, the system and program track, sales professional track. Point of sale is the most robust right now. You're going to find over 18 hours of training, interviews, interactive times for you to learn more about the merchant services, more about PayProtect. And as soon as I get it done this afternoon, you're going to see an interview, both about 50 minutes of learning about Cash Buoy from Sean Feehan and Brian Batt, the co-founders of Cash Buoy. They talk about how they got into the business, why they got in the business, what sets them apart, and it's a wonderful way to do that. Sean, can you tell us if they want to get in contact with you today, what's the best way to do that?
So I'm gonna tell you my email and number right now, and if you can't write it down, just reach out to anybody. Michael Thomas, Mike Stetzel, Danny Shard, Brian Linke. Just reach out to anybody at PayProtect and ask them for our contact info. The 800 number is 1-800-503-2430. Or go to cashbuoy.biz and you see all the contact info, or any social media, you'll find us on there too. We're very easy to get a hold of.
All right, and Brian Linke, can you tell me what are you excited about? We have another week coming. It is quarantine, but business is not closed. It is open, it is ready, and it's going to get more open. How can you get excited this next week? What could you say to our listeners and watchers?
Again, Nate, this show, I think, is exactly what our industry and our PayProtect family needs. It kind of takes a little bit of the edge off. With a little bit of business there at the end. So yeah, I wake up every day looking forward to doing it. I hope it's entertaining some of our people out there, or most of our people out there, if they're listening. And I'm excited about doing this every single day. I get to see you and Danny, and now we got Mr. Cash Buoy, and making 2 appearances, and how much better does it get than that?
All right, and Danny Shard, as the wonderful soothsayer from Glenwood Springs, Colorado, what say you as we go into this weekend of the time where Michael Jordan arises on Sunday to bring us all life again?
We've got a lot to look forward to. I want to say, watching the press conference yesterday, obviously now we all know there's a plan, right, that we've got to look forward to get things back open again. And there's still some uncertainty on timing depending on where you're at, but things are looking positive. We can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So stay positive, and know this is we're coming out on the other end of this stronger than ever. So enjoy your families while you can, because we're about to get busy as we come on the other side of this.
All right, that has been another episode of the High Five. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we will give you our virtual high fives as some music plays us off. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. We will see you again on Monday.
See ya. Have a great weekend.